big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. On the show today, we speak to one of India's largest OTT platform, Prime Video. Now, for the uninitiated, Prime Video, the OTT arm of Amazon Inc., is replicating the marketplace model that is the mainstay in its e-commerce business. Last month, it tied up with 8 global and Indian premium content providers to create the country's first subscription video-on-demand marketplace, adding about 10,000 hours of additional content on the same platform. Well, to understand the strategy behind it, what it's going to do for Amazon Prime, what it's going to do for us consumers, we're joined by Gaurav Gandhi, Country Manager, Amazon Prime Video India. Thank you so much, Gaurav. Truly a pleasure having you on the show. First things first, you have gone in by getting into this aggregator model. I believe we are the second country in Asia to do this in terms of Prime Video after Japan. Give me a sense of what was the thinking behind it. I know this is something you've been doing for the last 5 years in other markets. So what was the strategy there? How has it worked and why India?
Yeah, I think in our journey of Prime Video in the country for the last 4.5, 5 years, we've seen phenomenal growth. The streaming ecosystem and segment has seen a growth, but we've seen a great growth in our viewership and our adoption, led by our local originals, our global originals, big films, including the DTS movies that we released over the last year and a half or so. And now Prime Video is watched in about 99% of the country's PIN codes and goes really, really deep. And as we actually saw all of that growth coming in, we also realized the fact that customers love movies and shows from many services, and no one service can actually sort of satisfy all of that customer demand. But as the number of services increase, there's also a pain point for the customers. Multiple subscriptions, too many apps, multiple passwords, billing relationships, and so on. So, what we sort of brought in here, like we've done in 11 other countries around the world, is to really set up a marketplace where we have, starting with these 8 partners, coming in and offering that content to the large Prime member base that exists in India for them to easily subscribe as an add-on and then view and consume. I think why India, it makes imminent sense and the timing is great is because we've seen not just a growth in demand, but growth in supply as well of so many services over the last couple of years. And as quality content grows and customers watch it more and more on multiple screens, given Prime Video's large reach across devices and adoption in the country, it gives partners as well a great opportunity to tap into that customer base who's very hungry for content, who already pays for it, and consume that. So we actually think it's the best of for everyone.
So I have a couple of adjoinder questions. One being that, I've seen like the 8 content partners you've brought on to Prime at the moment. And we've seen your pricing as well. If you have to add on to our current Prime Video service. How different is it for me as a consumer to do an add-on via you versus going directly?
And I think it's really not so much about the price, because these customers, we do have introductory offers that partners have given, but really about the convenience, the ease and frictionless experience of bringing these partners on. So if you are already a Prime member, you would go outside and subscribe to Discovery Plus. You could, and many do. But here, for example, you add on and have the same experience across screens, downloads, extra experiences, all of that, click of a button. And I think over the course of this journey, as we've seen around the world, customers really value great experiences along with great content. And with our partners who bring the great content, our job is to give them the seamless experience and one place to really have all of their content in.
Give me a sense of the kind of number of viewers, Prime Video currently has in India vis-a-vis your competition, and with this new, marketplace model, what is the kind of escalation you're looking to achieve in terms of just garnering more viewers and possibly people who are sitting on the fringe?
We don't break down the overall Prime member base around the world, and we only disclose some time back about the fact we have globally 200 million plus Prime members. So I can't give you the India number separately, but what I can tell you is that, from in the last 2 years, we have grown 3x in terms of viewing hours in India. And like I mentioned at the beginning of our chat, that from a point of view of penetration, we have customers now in 99% of the country's PIN codes. And that sort of shows you how deep we really go. I think the channels is a natural extension of the journey of Prime Video, where we are increasing selection for our Prime members by adding more services.
Is there a plan to create a bouquet for all services for a single price point?
I think there are various models today existing in the space of distribution, Sonali. You have a bouquet where customers can, along with data benefits, take all the channels or subscribe or services. You can have bouquets where you can add on to your current DTH or services. I think one of the insights we had really was that customers really want to pay for what they want to watch, and our model here has been really about that, to make sure you can add on to what you want to watch. I don't think there's either or in this space, but in general, we believe that the market is or the category is right now for giving customers choice to add what they want to watch. I can't speculate about the future, but we're very focused to make sure that as we increase selection, that choice and control remains in customers' hands to really opt in, as against being given all together, which they may not want. So that choice is very important piece in our strategy.
Right. Knowing that we as a market are not really a paying market, and of course we've seen some improvement with now some of us willing to pay for multiple OTT platforms. How optimistic are you in terms of Prime members going for add-on services at an extra cost? I mean, are we evolving as a paying nation for content?
I think we are evolving as a paying nation for content, for sure. So look, at one level, we have always paid for content, going to theaters, paying for cable, all of that. Like, we have always paid for content. Yes, we have been extremely value conscious as a society and customer segment. And I think nothing wrong with being value conscious. People say it's price conscious. I think it's value conscious. And if we are able to give consistent value and high quality world-class content to customers, they are willing to pay. We've seen that with the growth of Prime in the country. We've seen that with the growth of the whole category in the country. And we've seen, particularly in the last 2 years, with the digital adoption being accelerating overall, and easier ways to make payments and so on, people are getting more and more comfortable, Sonali, to pay for content.
Gaurav, would you say this is another form of consolidation that the entire media landscape is going through with this arrangement now coming into play?
I actually think quite the reverse. I actually think that as we grow and build and create categories as an industry, newer forms of distribution allow for more content creators, more content providers to showcase their content to customers. Today, for example, if we are able to get, starting with these 8 partners and many more going forward, an ability to get to a very large base of customers in the country, to make sure their content is available to subscribe easily across all devices and watch easily. So I think that allows for an opportunity for even more players in the category to continue to program and serve customers.
So if I had to take an analogy of what we're just seeing in this new distribution model, so if I look at the TV model and you looked at MSOs, right, and you have different channels as a bouquet, and then hence you pay carriage fee. Would you say that, because you're giving access to your platform, which has a decent viewing cohort, you will also be benefited by the fact that more and more players coming onto your platform will have to pay you carriage fee?
Actually, it's not about the carriage fee at all. In fact, the way I see it is we work in a very transparent way with our partners. The the big differentiation here is that we are content providers and content creators ourselves, right? So we are therefore providing that content to our customers every single day. A singular view is we have to entertain and engage that customer and a Prime member and make their lives better. And I think the choice and selection and the model that we operate with is the same tenet of being customer first. So when we bring a partner on board, and we've done it around the world, and we've seen, in fact, the interesting part here, Sonali, is that 6 of the 8 partners that we have at launch have worked with us in more than one country. They've worked with us before or working in other markets. So therefore, they're very clear of the value this brings to them.
Are you going forward looking at larger players to come on to Prime Video?
We are creating a marketplace for the category. We're starting with 8 partners. Like we made a start, 5 years ago in other parts of the world. We've grown to India as a 12th country to launch. So 50 partners globally. I really think this is a journey. And in the journey, these are our first 8 partners. We're delighted to work with them. Over time, we're working through with many, many more right now to bring them on, and you'll hear about that as we go forward. But once you create a marketplace model which works for customers and partners, the idea is to continue to expand selection. So it'll be an endeavor to continue to expand that. I can't speculate who will come on or not right now, but I think it's fair to say that the model works elsewhere, and we are very confident it'll work here as well, and works very well for both our partners and for our customers. So yeah, I remain confident, bullish about it.
Okay. With news pouring in that in different states they're relaxing rules and theaters are finally going to open. We're seeing Maharashtra open on the 22nd of October. How does this actually impact let's say the last 18-19 months of how we as consumers have consumed content, and a lot OTTs got lucky because a lot of big films got released onto you first, and we saw it via platforms such as yours. I think all the big films, the big lineup until at least mid of next year looks pretty good with all the big budget, big starrer movies. How is that going to impact what we've seen over the last 18-19 months?
I think 2 things have happened. Customers have got very used to watching high quality new films on streaming and watching it from comfort of their home. So the idea that films can't, releasing on streaming were not the same as the ones releasing in theater, that really changed. And the second thing which happened is the reach and impact of streaming to these films and the creators was very well appreciated by the fraternity and by the customers. So when you're getting a movie released and it being watched, not just available, watched in 180 countries around the world, or in over 4,000 cities in India, and 97% of the pin codes in the country, for example, those are really high impact numbers which theatrical distribution was not able to do in the past, right? The other interesting thing what happened was when local language films, say Malayalam or Tamil or Telugu or Kannada movies, got national distribution and international reach as well. We saw 50% of the viewing for these movies coming outside their home state, which basically, again, was something which had not happened before because of the way the theater's availability is. Now, that has made creators, talent, all stand up and take notice of the new distribution model in display. So we welcome the fact that the partners, our creative partners, have more options to release, and people will go to cinema as well. But we do believe, and we work with these partners over long term. So we'll get movies after theater, like we used to get earlier, X weeks after theater. We just had Bell Bottom, for example, coming in 4 weeks after theatrical. Huge success on Prime Video, very wide distribution and appeal and love. And I think we also will have movies direct to service, like we have the Shershah. Again, phenomenal success around the world and in India. So I think in the next few months and a year or so, we'll see both the models working through.
Are you confident that cinemas will attract movie-going audience? Or do you think that because in the last 18-19 months, we've kind of gotten used to sitting in the privacy and luxury of our own homes and watching it at our own pace and time, that habit may have slightly been modified forever?
I think habits change over a period of time, that's for sure. I mean, the same thing, people generally over the years got used to more on-demand content. And once you get to on-demand content, you sort of prefer that over, say, linear programming in a manner. But that doesn't mean that the TV industry is not surviving and working through. They're growing as well in a different way for different customers. I think similarly in theaters, I think the theater experiences or cinema experience is very different. Sorry, I think that experience has value for customers, and it has like people love to go out. It's a social outing. There are many more other benefits of it. So I think in general, I think that experience will remain. Customers will make more harder choices, of what kind of movies they want to go for or not, or how often they go to cinema hall. Maybe that may have changed because they've also got used to watching more and more on-demand content generally, and being entertained from the comfort and safety of their homes. So I think it's safe to say that behaviors and habits have changed and shapes and will change, but doesn't mean that there is that category will be impacted majorly. I don't know. I don't think so. I think in generally cinemas provide a very different experience, and I think that's here to stay.
Tell me, in what we've seen in the last 18, 19 months with OTT players, acquiring movies straight up, as opposed to, theatrical release and followed by TV and OTT, is the asking price increased?
Naturally, if you are the producers are not releasing it in theater and are releasing direct to service, there has to be economics of that window going away. There's no doubt about that. And that economic has to make commercial sense for both the producer and for us who's providing the service to get to the platform to really go out there and distribute this movie. And that it has to be a sustainable model for both to be able to do that consistently. Sure. And I think we got to a good space in the industry. I can't talk about the others, but the fact that we released 40 plus movies across languages, that we found a place which works for both partners and for us. That said, it's more the and less and not about the or, because I think there is an economic model where the theatrical window gets X amount of revenue for the content partner, and then the streaming window comes in, and then TV window comes and so on, and then there's a direct to streaming window as well. So I think it's less about the price going up or down by versus more about the fact that how the windows are impacted, and therefore, how does the remuneration or compensation or fee for the additional window comes into play. And that's happened and adjusted pretty quickly in the last 1.5 years. And we are not the only ones who are programming for DDS films. We have several other services doing that. So the industry has made that shift pretty seamlessly of the multiple windows. And if your window collapses, what happens versus if window remains, what happens?
So 8 new, add-on Prime channels. How many more are you aiming at, let's say, by the end of 2021?
Hard to put a number out there. I think it's a journey, and we are very happy to get started with this. I can safely say there are many more in conversation and discussion, and we'll love to bring them on as soon as partners and we are ready. But the fact that we've grown to 350 around the world, in many parts, across the world, rather not around the world, across the 11 countries that we are already present in, shows that we continue to sort of add more and more partners who are like-minded.
So Gaurav, if I had to ask you a category question, and here if I request you to remove your Prime hat and wear the OTT category hat, what would you say have been the biggest changes in the last 18, 19 months? And what are the biggest challenges you see for the category going forward?
I think the biggest changes is the much faster adoption of streaming, and particularly subscription-based streaming services that we've seen in the last 24 months and last 18 particularly, aided by people having more time, content being impacted through other distribution, cinema and TV earlier and so on. Also, really high quality content, coming into streaming and through originals, and great segmented cinema coming in as well, and stories really, the interesting part is great stories resonating and crossing language barriers and boundaries. So it's no longer about the fact that I only want to watch content in my own language. The distribution handicap doesn't remain, because you're watching global content here, either in original language or versioned subs and dubs. Similarly, nationally as well, it's not confined to a region. So we always had it available, but the last 18 to 24 months have shown customers' appetite increasing, and that barrier and the psychological barrier that I only want to watch in language A or language B also has broken down. So you're far more open to watching content across. So that unlocks a lot of selection. It also unlocks great opportunity for the creators and talent who are no longer, constrained by my audience being only X or Y, but actually being a very much larger base. Third piece I'll tell you is Indian content resonating outside the country. And I'll give you our own example, because I don't have our data, but 1 in 5 customers for our Indian originals comes outside of the country. We are seeing most of our big films, or most of our film actually getting movie viewing in 150 plus countries and territories, going up to 180 to 190 countries. And these are audiences watching it, pretty quickly as goes. And that number continues to grow. So I think Indian content appeal around the world also has increased quite dramatically. Challenges, I think the most exciting and interesting and the complicated challenge is to be able to create and supply content in the same speed as customers want to watch it. Like people want to watch so much, and in general, COVID impacted supply and production across the board. How do you get content fast enough to customers? So that's really been one of the big challenges as we tackle. And we obviously, while production resumes, still have delays many places, and projects are delayed by a while. So that's one challenge that you overcome. The second one, I think, is an interesting category point that which we've sort of worked with and others to work to. India is so heterogeneous in terms of taste preferences that there is no one answer. So you have to really program for each cohort and each customer base, and you have to keep doing it fast enough, and because each of them are relevant and big and meaningful and are hungry for content. So really, how do you sort of program for multiple of those cohorts, linguistic cohorts, or age-based, younger adults, older demos, all of that? And I think the complexity of that is a challenge in general, but it's a fascinating problem to solve. Something that we have been very lucky to have started early to solving it and programming in 10 languages, but lots more work to be done. So I think that's the other challenge and the opportunity, if you look at it, in the industry overall at a category level, Sonali.
Last question before I let you go. We have seen a proliferation of OTT platforms, in the country. And yes, okay, I understand you have got on some partners, and going forward, you will get on more partners. And hence, okay, smaller players will get more visibility with platforms like yours. But my question is, I have limited real estate on my cell phone. And I only have a budget for entertainment per month, which will allow me to spend so much. Do you think it is sustainable for so many OTT players to survive, individually and thrive because they'll have enough members subscribing? Or do you think that we are starting an era of consolidation of either people folding their business or selling?
I think it's a question of the model you choose, and with your inputs are keeping pace with that, and the output results are delivering to you. In general, I feel newer models will emerge of distribution. For example, we've seen where in the last few years, with the growth of cheaper data available and data service available, and telecom companies offering more content bundled in, customer choices increased fundamentally, and viewing also increased. That was one distribution model that came in. We've launched something recently with channels, is another one. You have already seen another model which already exists, where people are having branded services, but in the same pack available already within streamers. You have a model where people have channels on YouTube, so to say. So I think there's going to be a variety of models, and you have to make sure you adjust your investments commensurate to what you believe that model can pay off over time, and look at a longer horizon of investments overall. Because like I mentioned to you, like there's such a large segment size and the opportunity that it's place for a lot of people to really build and grow overall. So I feel we are in very early days of this. If you look back and in the first 5 years or 7 years when theaters came, or when 5 years when channels came, TV stations came in the 90s, or pay TV came, and say, man, there are too many, it's going to survive. I think we've seen a very different world. You've seen models changing and emerging as well. Similarly, here we are in the first few years of this category, and the opportunity size being very, very large. So I think it's unfair to pass a verdict so early.
Fair enough. On that note, thank you so much, Gaurav, and all the very best going forward. Hopefully, you'll add a lot more to your offering, and we as consumers, of course, will be entertained for some time to come.
Thanks, Sonali. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.